Story time with Stephanie
Hi,
Story.
I am Stephanie Storey, art historical novelist. Welcome to my show, Story Time. I'm excited for my guest today because she is the first chef I've had on who has a new cookbook out. And I'm particularly interested in Filipino cooking, which is what we're going to talk about today. Her new book is The Easy Filipino Cookbook 100 Classics Made Simple. Welcome to the show, Chef Roline Casper.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm glad to be here with you today.
Thank you for joining me. You have a very long, sort of interesting career and life. But before we get to a lot of that, why now did you decide to come out with a cookbook and collect all of these recipes in a single place and put them out into the world? What are you trying to accomplish with it?
I just wanted people to, especially people who are new to our food. It's really out more for people like, they know of Filipino, but they don't really understand what it's about, our food, and also for the second generation. Because a lot of second generation, they are familiar with the food, but they don't know what it is. And it's also for people who are curious, they they want it to be adventures of, with food. And since Filipino is not yet out there, I'm just trying to share my voice to be experience our food. Yes.
I love that you say your mission, in addition to having a restaurant and putting this cookbook out, is to educate and promote Filipino culture through your food. What are you hoping that people learn about Filipino culture and your food, whether it's generations down, whether it's descendants of people who moved, immigrants who moved, or whether it's just people like me who are not Filipino who are interested in it? Um, what are you hoping to educate people about?
Well, because our food is, in general, it's a mixture of our culture is influenced by a lot of different cultures, like, Americans, Middle East, Chinese, Spanish, Japanese. It's a lot of that culture that's mixed and intertwined into our food. And I want people to understand that, hey, you know what, our food is great and you will not be scared when you eat our food because it's like it's something familiar to you. It's just that you don't you are not, it's not as exposed as the other food, like, Japanese. It's been around, Chinese especially. It's like what you said, you're not familiar with the food, but then you meet a lot of Filipinos, you know everywhere. They work in every aspect of, industry. They are around us, but the food is not there. But when you see us in our parties, when we invite people to our holiday parties, oh my god, people really, oh my god, this is your food. They enjoy the food, but they don't know what it's called. They don't know what's the ingredient. And that's why I wanted to educate people that, hey, you know what, our food is amazing. It's just a matter of you trying it out, especially for the young ones, because a lot of people, when they move and migrate, sometimes they tend to linger away from the culture. It's not that they mean it. It's just because it's easier to assimilate, if you are exposed to the food that's here. It's hard to introduce new food. So that's why I wanted the young ones, the new generation, to really accept that, hey, our food is here and it's here to stay.
Yeah, I didn't know very much about Filipino food, except I was telling you this over email. My nephew's family is Filipino, and he's a little
Yes.
budding chef. And every time we go to the house, he's always cooking us stuff, and he's doing like egg rolls and fried rice, but it's the Filipino version, and it's fantastic food. So there's a couple things. One, tell my listeners at home who do not have a nephew who's cooking for them, sort of some of the basic dishes that you make. And then also talk to me about the communal nature of a lot of Filipino eating. To me, you're eating with your hands.
Yes.
It's a lot of really communal food, right?
I think it's the history of everybody's food is we all started eating with our hands. Because when I traveled before, in the Middle East and also some parts in Africa, they were eating with their hands. And us Filipinos, we eat with our hands. I mean, we use fork and spoon, yes, but it's part of us that we're eating with our hands because that's how we experience the food, and then the camaraderie of the hard work that's put into having that food on your table, from the farmers down to the the meat mongers, the fresh vegetables that's laid out there, and the people at home, your mothers, your grandmothers, your sister, like your nephew. There's a lot of people who prepared that dish. There's a lot behind that simple dish. For example, our it's adobo. Adobo is a very popular food for Filipinos. It's with garlic, soy sauce, and with meat. And we got that from our Spanish and Mexican influence. So we put our little twist to it and made it our own because that's what's available in the Philippines. For example, they put paprika or other ingredients in the food, but in the Philippines, we use what we have. We have different kinds of vinegars, a souring agent that we use for our food, and that's the food that we take to the farm because you don't need refrigeration because it will hold well, you know. And eating with the kamayan, I have that here too in our restaurant. I introduced the kamayan, and a lot of people are enjoying it because they can feel and they can see all the different colors of the food that they're eating, and then they go, oh, at first there's some people they go, oh, I thought I will not, I will be like, ew, they go like that. But once they started, it's like, oh my God. And then you build the trust, you build the trust with each other because you trust the person who prepared the food, and you trust the people around you eating with you. You know that they're clean, they're safe, and your food is prepared safely. So that's how our food is too. Part of our culture is the kamayan.
Okay, I do have to ask though, since we're talking about this and it was just sort of crossing my mind, with the pandemic and the quarantine, that affects all of this. I mean, that affects that psychology, particularly of sitting down
Yeah.
and sharing food with people. How is that affecting you and your business? And then I'll get back to how you came on this journey. But while we're talking about it, I do want to address it. How is the whole thing affecting your food and your business? Because it does seem to be affecting food businesses particularly.
Yes, it's when the pandemic started, it's really challenging for us because my business is also mostly catering, and I do have a hot food table. It's a very casual environment. Uh, we have the hot food table. I do kamayan, so I have those little things. But of course, we are hurting with the pandemic, and I had to change a lot of things. We have to adapt. For now, we stopped the kamayan, but then now people are emailing us again. When are we gonna have it? And they wanted to reserve either for their home or here. So I said the only thing we can do about that is if it's only reservation, only one family at allotted day, just one family, and that's all I can do for now. And of course, we'll have more gloves now, not just bare hands. We'll have gloves before we offer that, and it's only like if you want to use it, you can use it. If not, don't worry. But now it's a must that they have to wear gloves really if we are gonna have the kamayan. And I came up with new dishes with the pandemic. I've been creating a lot of dishes at the back in the kitchen, and now we just launched it. We called it the baon series. Baon is our term for lunchbox. I've created a chicken tocino. It's a sweet chicken. It's amazing.
So I love it that you're back there creating dishes as sort of a mental or emotional response to the pandemic. I felt like there's been so much emotional response around food to the quarantine and the pandemic. And I love it
Yes.
that you're back there like creating new things. Is that part of why you became a chef? Because you like creating new dishes? Like,
Yes, it all started when I was a child. Yes, for real. With not just with my grandma, but yes, me. I like to create things at the back of my mind. It's the spur of the moment. That's what I used to do. Okay, I'll give you an example. I was left alone at home, about 10, 11 years old. And I was so hungry because, my grandma's the one that cooks, but nobody was home. So I opened the refrigerator and then I saw chicken. Okay, so I saw the chicken, but there's no other. It's actually not chicken, it's chicken liver.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's chicken liver. I know. I'm sorry, but I'm so hungry. You know what? I just made soup. I just created this tamarind soup because that's the only thing I have at home. I don't have other vegetables, nothing except for a tomato and an onion. And then I just created soup out of those three ingredients. And my grandma would always ask me as a 5-year-old or 4 years old, I'm always the one left at home with her because I'm too young to go out, and I'm not in I cannot work. I'm not yet in school. So my grandma is the one who's always with me. So she'll take me to the market, the wet market. We'll buy fresh fish, meat, and then the vegetables. We'll harvest some of them in her backyard. Her backyard has a lot of fruits and vegetables. And then the rice, sometimes some farmers will give us their rice too. They'll share their bounty. So that's how I grew up.
So you grew up cooking with your grandmother.
Yeah.
But didn't I hear somewhere? I think you were giving a speech somewhere, and you said you sort of wanted to be a doctor, but your mom
Yes.
discouraged you, and then you ended up in food. Tell me
Yes.
about this.
Yes, because I really love science. I really am so good at it, and I know for a fact that I'll be good. Taking medicine, psychiatry or anything like that. And I told my mom one day, hey mom, I wanted to study medicine. Oh no, you can't do that because it's 10 years of studying. You'll be married, and then what? You will not use it. That's the mentality, right? So I go, okay. Then I want to be a social worker because I really wanted to help people. Because growing up, I see a lot of poverty, and I cry. See, up to now, I'm almost in, like, when I think of that, I go, you know what? I like to help a lot of children. I like to help a lot of people. I wanted to be a social worker. If you don't want me to become a doctor, I want to be a social worker. There's no money in it. That's what she answered. She replied, "There's no money in social work. Why would you do that?" Then I started realizing that I'm also good in writing essays. So now I also wanted to write a book, but short stories because I think I'm really good at it, and that's that's part of my journey. But and I used to go to the hotels to hang out where the journalists were going back in the Philippines. But I was young, so nobody's noticing me. Nobody was talking to me. All those old men, and they were mostly at that time. They're all like male dominated.
Yes.
During that time.
Yes.
So I remembered, and even an old like friend of my mom would just say hello to me, but will not even look at my work. You know, because for them I'm just young, and you're a woman, and there's what is there for you to offer to us, like with your whatever work you have. So, and plus all my writings that's why I gave it up, because all my writings, one time a friend of mine, the sister, borrowed it. It's a compilation, and at that time there's no computers, or there was, but I don't own any. I handwritten all my writings, and she lost them. She misplaced all my writings. I was devastated. It's like, oh my God, there goes my other dream. It's like three dreams like failed. It's like, oh, nothing.
But then how did you land at being a chef, at studying food and making that your life? How did you get there?
Okay. When I was 16, 15 years old, I was with my best friend in high school. We ate at this restaurant. It's a French patisserie. And then, it's our savings. So it's our high school money. So we ate and we had a great experience. And I said, I'm going to have a restaurant just like this. I told her. And we even put up a name. I even gave it a name. And then why? She even asked me why the name, the post. I said, because it shines light to people. And that's what I told her. It's like it shines light to the people, and when they eat my food, they'll be happy. They'll be. It's like if they're sad, they'll be happy because they're eating something good. And now, she was crying when we saw each other because she saw I have a restaurant. Although it's not the white linen, it's not you know that kind, but still. And that's when it started. I was 15, 16 years old when I told my friend I'm gonna have a restaurant one day.
So what has been the best part and the hardest part about being a chef?
The best part, or the hardest part first. The hardest
Hardest
part for
part
me,
first.
the hardest part for me is really being able to prove myself to the people that's I'm here for real, that I'm serious with what I'm doing, that I'm offering something really, really wonderful, that they have to just take a chance. Take a chance just like how I did and try my food, because that's the only thing that I'm wishing and hoping all the time. Like people will accept me and embrace me for what I have and who I am as a chef. Because it's hard in my I'll let you in with our culture. Our culture is really hard because we have the crab mentality. What it is there's a tendency to pull each other down when you are being successful. Sometimes people pull you down. Not everybody, yes, but there's a lot of that, in the culture. Maybe it's and I think it's because of how we were colonized, like many different times, or a lot of cultures took a punch at the Philippines because it's a beautiful country. It's rich. It's very rich in a lot of things, not just culture, but the land itself is rich. We offer what we're surrounded by water, and then our land is so fertile. It's beautiful. So a lot of people, a lot of countries, yes, and that's why our culture we try to fight. It's hard. Like we have to always defend. We're always on the defensive, and we're people who are not really what's how do I say it? We cannot really voice ourselves right away. We're very like at work, for example, at work they'll just smile at you. Can you do this for me? And they'll just say okay, even if they're hurting, even if they're in pain, even if they're so tired, we'll just say yes, because that's how we were raised. And I'm trying to change that as well. And that's why, against all odds, running the business, I'm running this business. I went back to school. I want to better myself. I want to prove them wrong that, hey, my mom says I cannot do this. One, two, three times she says no, because I have so much respect for my mom and our elders. That's how we are raised. We have to respect the elders. We're not supposed to, you know, uh, answer back or do things that they will not be happy. But now I said, you know what? Enough is enough. I have to stand my ground. I have to prove myself that, hey, I can do this. This is what I'm born to do. I know I'm born to do this because, being a chef, I became a scientist myself. And then people come to me and they tell me their challenges in life. Sometimes I even just meet them once. They're paying and then suddenly they'll tell me their whole life story because they trust me. They trust that I will not say to other people. And they trust whatever I'll tell them, like they'll trust me. And then I can also do social work because right now I have the power to, hey, not power, but I have that capability of helping do fundraising or help in any which way I can do through food. And then I have people that come to Rolines, or sometimes their parents are in the hospital. Hey, Roline, my mom, she got better. I saw them. I visited them in the hospital. They're eating the food. They'll bring the food that I cook to their moms, to their dads, and it's helping them feel better, extend their life. It's like then they'll come back, they'll jump back, and then they'll come back to me. Go, Roline, I really thank you for bringing that food, at the hospital. Even the mothers, most of them have moved on now, but that's the reason why I'm here. It's like, oh my God, little things like this. It doesn't need to be big because I'm not a popular chef, you know. I'm not a celebrity chef, but in my own little way, I help people.
You became a doctor, a social worker, and now a writer because you have a book. You got all three.
I know, right? Oh my God, I did it. Yes, you're right.
You did.
Oh,
You got all three of them.
yes, in my own time, right?
In your own way and your own time.
Yeah, so that is really something. I'm thankful, God is really amazing.
Story time with Stephanie. Story time virtually. We've got time and plenty of stories, talking stories in a novel way. Story time with Stephanie. Story